Hello and welcome viewers, I'm Pia and you're watching the Africa Brief on NewsX World, and here are the headlines. The Sudan Doctors Network has accused the Rapid Support Forces of trying to hide mass killings in Darfur by burning or burying hundreds of bodies in El-Fasher, following the paramilitary group's violent takeover of the city. Residents in Sudan's El Obeid have stated that they're living in fear as the RSF prepare for an assault. The army says that it shot down an RSF drone targeting the city amid rising tensions. Cameroon's opposition leader Issa Chiroma Bakari has given authorities a 48-hour ultimatum to release detainees arrested during and after the country's disputed presidential election held on the 12th of October. He's vowed to continue applying pressure until they are freed. Protesters have stormed Nigeria's Museum of West African Arts in Benin City, forcing donors to evacuate. In response, officials have postponed the opening indefinitely amid tensions between former governor and city's traditional ruler over the control of the heritage site. President Ismail Omar Guelleh of Djibouti has announced a run for a sixth term in April 2026 elections following the parliament's removal of term limits. He now promises to uphold unity and stability in the region. Japan's Prime Minister Takaichi has warned a Chinese blockade of Taiwan could threaten Japan's survival. Meanwhile, China's Consul General Xie has responded with issuing threats, which Japan has now condemned. US senators have reached a bipartisan deal to resume federal funding, ending a record 40-day government shutdown. The stopgap agreement funds operations through January, resolving disputes over healthcare subsidies, food benefits, and federal employee firings. BBC Director General Tim Davie and new CEO Deborah Turness have resigned after facing backlash over a documentary that edited US President Donald Trump's speech, misrepresenting his words on the Capitol riots. Well, viewers, those are the headlines and our top focus. Medical groups in Sudan have now reported horrific atrocities in the city of El-Fasher by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. They allegedly buried hundreds of civilians in mass graves and burned others in a bid to conceal evidence. The Sudan Doctors Network has described these actions as systematic genocide, condemning what they've called appalling international silence in response. Now, following the RSS takeovers of El-Fasher on the 26th of October, ethnic-based massacres have been reported, raising fears of further fragmentation in Sudan. Now, since the conflict began in 2023 in April, thousands have been killed and millions displaced. The Sudan Doctors Network is now demanding an immediate international investigation to document these crimes and hold the perpetrators accountable. With us on the broadcast is Ambassador Mahesh Sachdev, a former Indian diplomat, joining us from New Delhi. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. We've reported stunning statistics of people who are fleeing. There are over 36,000 people who have already fled their homes. This is according to a UN report that had come out. That's not all. There are crimes of massacres taking place, sexual violence happening as well. Some photos were also released showcasing entire areas, satellite photos, in fact, showcasing entire areas in El-Fasher being painted red due to the amount of blood that has been drawn from innocent civilians by the RSF. Now, the Sudan Doctors Network is demanding an international investigation. Do you think this needs to be expedited?
Yes, it's a horrible condition, Pia, and words are not enough to describe it. The numbers are uncertain. International Organization of Migration talks about 82,000 migrants from al-Fasher after it was captured by RSF. The numbers could have been even bigger, uh, but for uh, prevention of by RSF of migration. Uh, what Sudan Medical Network has said uh, is uh, uh, is almost self-evident. If there are so many killings going on that the city looks splattered in blood, they would eventually have to be buried or burnt somewhere. So that is what is being done. It's partly to erase the evidence that such a massacre took place in al-Fasher, uh, and partly to for hygienic reasons because al-Fasher is the capital of northern Darfur, and sooner or later it'll come to public opinion, public sight when RSF uh, governs the state from that city. So that is what is happening. But I should caution you that Sudan Medical Network is not based in RSF controlled areas. Obviously, they would not have said such a thing if they were under the control of RSF. They are in Sudan Armed Forces controlled area in Khartoum, and that tends to give them a, an intrinsic sense of bias against RSF. Uh, Not that RSF is being exonerated by anyone. At the same time, RSF has a well-oiled and pretty slick propaganda machine, and they take care of their website, their pronouncements, and their visibility in the proper way to present themselves as a national state in making. So that is where the truth lies somewhere in the horrific details being made available through refugees saying things after escaping al-Fasher, and RSF's own sort of word about they having punished the people who were seen in committing massacres in al-Fasher, and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Indeed, sir, requesting you to stay on with us as we're tracking some further updates from Sudan at this point. Viewers, we're now learning that residents in Sudan's El-Obeid have stated that they're living in fear as the paramilitary rapid support forces appear to prepare for an assault. The Sudanese army reported shooting down an RSF drone targeting the city. El-Obeid is a strategic hub in North Kordofan and sits on a key supply route linking Darfur and Khartoum. While the RSF accepted a truce proposal last week, the United Nations has warned of intensifying hostilities. Residents, meanwhile, fear a repeat of El-Fasher and Bara, where RSF captured strongholds, forced thousands to flee and committed violence. Civilians have meanwhile been advised to avoid military targets as tensions are escalating in the region. Still with us on the broadcast is Ambassador Sachdev. I, of course, referred to the truce proposal that the RSF seemingly accepted last week, but reports are now coming in that it is in fact preparing to target El-Obeid, which is located on a key route between Darfur and Khartoum. Khartoum, of course, is the headquarters of the Sudanese army in the capital as well. In light of this, how strategically important is it for the Sudanese army to defend this outpost? And what can we expect taking place next? Will this truce be adhered to, or will we still see the RSF trying to advance further?
The battle lines are not fixed, and they have moved fairly often. But the way the territories are panned out, Kordofan and Al Darfur Kordofan in the south and Al-Darfur in the west, are under control of RSF mostly, or it's militias that are supporting it. And the enclaves that SAF had in that area are slowly being dismantled by RSF action. So Darfur, northern Darfur, with al-Fashir's capture, is now entirely with RSF. And Kordofan has a number of tribes that are allied to RSF and are part of the coalition fighting SAF. And that is where the action at Al-Obeid lies. Kordofan is an potentially oil-rich province, and SAF would try and do everything possible to retain a toehold in Al-Obeid there. But for the same reason, RSF would like it to be evicted from that area. So we are at the verge of a decisive and perhaps a bloody battle, which RSF is likely to wage. Now, Sudan has been through fairly drastic actions with no hold bars battles. And what happened in al-Fasher would make the civilians in Al-Obeid wary of being there, being surrounded, and later on, if RSF runs over that place, made refugees or worse. So that kind of terror that RSF is supposedly unleashed in al-Fasher is going to terrorize the residents and SAF that is resident there to defend the city, steal them as to their fate. And that is why I suspect that a battle that would take place there is going to be quite bloody.
All right, sir, with that.
Ceasefire acceptance by RSF, notwithstanding.
All right, sir, with that, I'd like to thank you for taking out time, sharing your analysis perspective as well of what's taking place on the ground in Sudan. Of course, it remains to be seen how exactly this situation will pan out. Meanwhile, viewers, we're shifting focus to what's taking place in Cameroon. Now, Cameroonian opposition leader Issa Chiroma Bakari has given authorities a 48-hour ultimatum to release all individuals detained during and after the country's disputed 12th October presidential election. Now, in a video posted on social media, Chiroma, who ran against longtime President Paul Biya, claimed victory in the vote and has accused security forces of unjust arrest and repression of protesters. He declared that he will never lower his stance until his people are free, demanding the release of detainees, including women and children, allegedly held without cause. Now, the Constitutional Court has declared Biya, who is 92, the winner of the election, securing a record 8th term and extending his 43-year rule. The result itself has triggered widespread unrest, with the United Nations reporting at least 48 deaths in post-election clashes, many caused by police gunfire. Authorities have not yet responded to Chiroma's demand, but tensions remain high as the deadline approaches. With us on the broadcast is Ms. Alison Mutler, former Associated Press Bureau Chief, joining us from Romania. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us. We've been seeing this back and forth going on with regards to the election results in Cameroon. The administration under Biya has warned of strict action against what it claims is a conspiracy against Biya, in which these opposition leaders such as Chiroma were involved. Are we likely to then see action being taken against Issa Chiroma Bakari as well? Up until now, we've seen the protesters having been detained without charge for that matter.
Well, Chiroma calls himself the president-elect. He doesn't recognize the results of the October 12th election, in which Biya, as you said, is a long-time president. He's been re-elected for a record 8th time. He's been in power for an incredible 43 years, so that's since the beginning of the 1980s. So Chiroma has, I understand, he is no longer in Cameroon. He is abroad, and he'd gone quiet for a few days, and then he released this video on social media yesterday, which obviously has agitated, or it's firing up, at whatever you prefer, his supporters, and he's calling for people, particularly women and children, who have been allegedly arrested and put in prison over the post-election violence, which, as the UN said, I think 43 people died, at least 43 people died. And he says, and so this is obviously, there is a period of instability, post-election instability. Biya was sworn in, I think, last week, but it's only a month since the election. So his appeal to Cameroonians to rise up and defend themselves and for these prisoners to be freed. We'll see what Biya will do, but it is clearly a difficult situation for him. I'm not sure what can happen to Chiroma because he's not in Cameroon, but it does add another layer of tensions to this heightened instability.
Even as Chiroma's political fate is unknown at the moment. As I pointed out earlier, Paul Biya is 92 years old. There are clear concerns regarding his health, his succession plans. In that context, should he then pave way for new leadership to come in and lead the country?
Well, I think it's going to be inevitable. He's 92 years old. I don't know what the state of his health is, but he's 92. And this presidential term in Cameroon is 7 years. So were he to serve that out, he'd be 99 years old. It's quite unclear whether he'd be physically and mentally capable of doing that. Therefore, he will be looking for a succession. And it certainly won't be from the Chiroma camp. He'll be looking for somebody within his own camp to be a successor. So I would imagine he would like a period of relative stability and to be unchallenged by the man who came second in the elections. Officially, he says he won the elections. He would like a period of relative stability to ensure a transition, even if it's behind the scenes and we don't know who it is. Because, as I said, biologically, it would be very hard for a 99-year-old to continue ruling the country with all their mental and physical faculties.
Indeed, and there are reports that Paul Biya spends most of his time in Europe, and he leaves his day-to-day governing to key party officials and family members, thereby bringing a lot of speculation regarding his health. Ma'am, I request you to stay on with us as we're tracking some other interesting updates, this time from Nigeria. Protests have forced the indefinite postponement of the opening of Nigeria's Museum of West African Arts in Benin City. Around 20 protesters, some armed with wooden bats, stormed the museum's courtyard during a pre-opening event for donors and industry professionals. The group caused minor damage and forced guests to take refuge inside for 2 hours before being escorted away. The museum itself, founded by Nigerian businessman Philip Iheanacho, has aimed to showcase West African art and house archives, but it has also sparked political tensions, particularly with the traditional ruler of Benin, Oba Ibuara II, who claims that authority over the museum is his. Listen in to what Philip had to say.
What happened today is that we had people protesters who came in and started vandalizing some of the welcome pavilion, which is where we have visitors, and then broke into the front where the exhibition area is. So we had to move people across to the rest of the museum. Details, I think there were representatives from the palace, and I believe that they were asking for us to allow more time for consultation before we do a formal commissioning. Now, the unfortunate thing is that this was not a commissioning. This is not an official commissioning at all. This was just a preview of our first exhibition.
As pointed out, this was not a formal commissioning. It was simply a preview, though in fact, the ruler of Benin, the traditional ruler of Benin, has been looking at inking a formal agreement prior to the formal commissioning that will take place as well. Still with us on the broadcast is Ms. Alison Mutler. I wanted to understand from you, where does this stem from and what's required for both parties to come on the same page? Because at the end of the day, this museum is technically showcasing the heritage, the art of West Africa at large and Benin in particular as well. So it is a benefit for both parties in terms that it will usher in tourists, bring in money as well, and further impetus for the locals who are living over there and their economic welfare.
It seems to be two issues here. It's a fight between who controls this museum, which, as you said, will showcase very important cultural and heritage art, showing the patrimony of Nigeria. It's an important city, Benin City. I think it's the fourth biggest city in Nigeria. It's in the south, and obviously this art has also a long reputation. The British looted it in, I think, 1897, and they took a lot of the Benin bronzes. So it's not just the reputation of the local museum, it's also the history. And there's a lot of prestige that is going into this. So the museum at the moment it's been slowly opening. As you said, this was just like a preview. 20 people who had supported it were invited. But the current ruler thinks because it's obviously a thing of prestige and it's strategic for attracting tourism, for the economy, etc., etc. He thinks he should have a stake in it. I don't know whether a solution can be worked out by both sides for the sake of the museum, for the sake of the economy, for the sake of tourism, between both sides, that it be run by some sort of city council with an appointed manager. But obviously, when you hear stories around, if you hear news stories around the world with people attacking people who'd gone to a preview with the sticks, it doesn't look very good for the museum, or does it look very good for Nigeria? So I think it would be in the interest of everyone to find a solution that works on the ground, for them to be able to showcase this very important art, which says a lot about the history. Some of it dates back many centuries. It's extremely important from an artistic and historical point of view for Nigeria.
Absolutely, Ms. Mutler. With that, I'd like to thank you for taking out time sharing your perspective with us on NewsX World today. On that note, viewers, we're tracking some breaking updates coming in from Thailand at the moment. A government spokesperson has stated that Thailand has suspended the implementation of a peace agreement with Cambodia following a landmine explosion that injured 2 Thai soldiers on patrol near the border. Spokesperson Siripong Angakasuk has told reporters that the follow-up to the joint declaration, which has been going about for a week now, will stop, adding that the decision also halts the planned release of 18 detained Cambodian soldiers. The peace deal, brokered under the mediation of US President Donald Trump, was aimed at easing tensions along the Thai-Cambodian frontier after clashes had taken place back in July. Bangkok has meanwhile stated that the suspension would remain in place, and it will be pending a full investigation into the blast. Meanwhile, news coming in from Djibouti. Djibouti's President Ismail Omar Guelleh, who has been in power since 1999, has confirmed that he would run for a 6th term in elections next year, after the parliament removed a constitutional barrier that had prevented him from running again. Guelleh has accepted the nomination from his People's Rally for Progress party during the Congress in the capital. The Horn of African nation is in a stable state, but it's in an often troubled region, operating major port that hosts military bases for the United States, France, China, Japan and Italy. Meanwhile, Guelleh has promised to reaffirm his commitment to unity, stability and development amid global challenges, ahead of the presidential election set for April 2026. With that, viewers, it's a wrap on the Africa Brief. We will continue to track these updates very closely. In the meantime, we're dipping into a quick short break.